Nora Coates is our author. No author's page with this one. Snap to grid is the one we have here. Okay. Oops. Here we go. Snap to grid. Object class save. Special containment procedures. Why do I feel nauseous all of a sudden? Oh, God. Special containment procedures. Each instance of SCP-2568 is to be contained in a 90 cm per side cubic box constructed of cubic subdivisions, each 10 cm on each side, plus minus 5 mm. Paths from the objects to the walls, floors, and ceiling should be kept clear of objects that might be harmed by a steel ball appearing inside them, such as personnel. Following instance C, if multiple instances are contained within the same room or locker, they are not to be placed directly in line with each other, to reduce the risk of collisions. And here we have a picture that says the first example of SCP-2568 retrieved. Look how... Where the fuck were you to take this photo, man? Or did you just like Photoshop that into here? Because that is impressive. I'm trying to see if there's like a camera somewhere around here. Okay. Electromagnetic laser or ultrasonic rangefinder are to be used to precisely control the object, ensuring that it remains in the center of the containment apparatus. Note, see Addendum A, regarding the use of ultrasonic rangefinders. Contained correctly, an instance of SCP-2568 which acquires a significant velocity will almost certainly lodge itself in the chamber walls or some other solid object, from which it can easily be retrieved. For this reason, it has been classified as safe. -1 is non-anomalous. Anomalous but classified as safe. Is extremely old and should be stored according to normal Foundation Archives protocol for ancient organic objects. SCP-2568 is a collection of 27 steel balls, 3.33 centimeters in diameter. Instances of SCP-2568 move only in increments of 0.2 times their diameter along the axis and rotate only in increments of 3.6 degrees around the axis. Okay, units of measure, view. The actual diameter of each instance of SCP-2586, you mean 2568, is exactly the distance that lights can travel in 108.8 picoseconds. That is the wavelength of light at the reciprocal ground state hyperfine splitting frequency of the cesium-133 atom. That's 9,192,632,770 hertz, or 32,616 microns. They are ground to extremely fine precision and remain quite smooth despite their age. This was not determined with the precision until several years after the recovery of SCP-2568 for the use of laser interferometry. The difference between 32,616 microns and the 33,000 micron measurements used in all existing containment gear is small enough not to present a problem, as evinced by the fact that the holes on -1 vary by as much as 1,000 microns and have no trouble containing instances of SCP-25. Okay, so no, this must be on purpose. 2586. I guess it's like both of them. Or is this a type? I'm so confused. Similarly, the movement of SCP-2586 is limited to increments of 6,523 microns, or 0.2 times the normal radius. When the force is applied to an SCP-2568 object, it acquires a virtual velocity. That is, if a force were applied which would accelerate it to 1 centimeter per second, it would rest in place for 0.33 seconds, then teleport 0.33 centimeters in the direction in which the force was applied. Oh, so it's like, so you basically like, hit it, and for a short second it would just stand still, but then depending how hard you hit it, it would teleport to where it's supposed to be. and teleport 0.33 centimeters in the direction in which the force was applied. Okay, so but it won't like travel. It won't travel far then. It's less than a centimeter, right? As mentioned above, these items cannot move except along 3 perpendicular axes. The vertical axis is oriented upwards, that is towards and away from the Earth's gravitational center. The 2 horizontal axes are not aligned to gravity, magnetic fields, or any other obvious means of directional determination. The axes are fixed and cannot be changed by any means so far devised. When one of the objects does move, it emits a flash of electromagnetic radiation in all frequencies at the destination, the brightness of which scales linearly with the object's virtual velocity. Dr. Matthews is currently working on the initial stages of a test to determine if useful energy can be extracted from this process. But now he has advised all personnel handling SCP-25868 to be careful not to accelerate them to a great velocity, as they could theoretically produce harmful levels of ionizing radiation. You just quickly ask a friend something. And we're back. Addendum A, initial recovery. The first example of SCP-2586 was 2568. Now you got me all confuzzled. Was recovered from its resting place in a gash group settlement near Akotat, Eritrea. During initial containment at provisional site 223 AG, the object's position was measured with consumer-grade ultrasonic rangefinders due to the availability. The sound waves emitted during the operation imparted a virtual velocity to the object, which eventually caused it to hop out of the containment tent. Through several meters of air and into the cereal bowl of a member of the expedition during breakfast, causing surprise and distress but no injuries. Henceforth, only laser rangefinders are to be used in containment to prevent this kind of incident in the future. And then B, recovery of later samples. Further excavation at provisional site 223 AG has revealed 28 additional items with the same properties. Classified an additional instance of SCP-2568. They were found in various positions on a square of hard wood about 8 cm thick with 3.3 cm hemispherical divots spaced 3.3 cm apart in an 8x8 grid. Makes sense. Snapped. That's why I snapped the grid. Okay. Yeah. Despite the heavy cracking, damage, and clear erosion of fine surface detail, the object remains structurally sound. This object is hereby classified as -1. Foundation anthropologists posing as Eritrean government officials cooperated with researchers from the British Museum and the University of Cambridge Museum of Anthropology and Archaeology to determine that -1 was most likely a game board of some kind and was produced at least 4,000 years ago, which is consistent with the age of the site from which it was recovered. Addendum C, incident log. Incident C, situation. 2 instances of SCP-2568 in the containment boxes were placed in the same secure locker area, one above the other. The power supply on one containment box failed, and a few moments later, security cameras and staff reported a significant explosion which destroyed the entire locker area. The source, the explosion caused a minor containment breach in which SCP killed 2 security personnel before being contained. 2 safe items and 14 anomalous items awaiting classification were lost, presumed destroyed. The 2 SCP-2568 instances were not recovered. That's why it was 29 and now 27, huh? Okay. Analysis: as a standard lockers at Site 77 are 18 centimeters tall. When the power supply on the upper object's containment apparatus failed, it gained a virtual velocity due to the force of gravity and fell through the top of the second container box. The sensors in that container detecting both objects triggered a bug in the control program, which caused it to emit the maximum values for the associated electromagnets, applying a very high force to the lower SCP-2568 instance. When the upper one proceeded a few microseconds later to move downward into the same space as the lower one, The magnetic forces prevented either one from appropriately vacating the space as normal. Needs. Dr. Da Costa and Dr. Matthews agree that such instances can be entirely avoided by simply spacing out these objects diagonally, so they cannot easily move into the same space. In addition, the control program has been corrected for all remaining containers. Noted by Dr. Da Costa, this raises some interesting questions. Clearly these things are dangerous, but perhaps only when they are so tightly contained. On a board like -1 they would collide all the time, and we have to assume that they were safe enough to be played with. -D experimental log, view. Experiment D. Situation. 4 instances of SCP-2568 were placed on -1. D-22 was instructed to attempt to cause them to collide. After a few minutes of getting used to the anomalous properties, he managed to maneuver them into place on the board. Results: when any 2 instances were made to collide, the one not moving was bumped out of its place in the direction of the moving one, but only by 1 space. When at the edge, both simply stopped. How this happens is unknown. In theory, the non-moving instance would be bumped off the board and continue into free space. When all 4 instances were made to collide, each emitted a very bright flash of light, and all 4 acquired an extreme virtual velocity. 2 ricocheted around the board until succumbing to friction and settling down. The other flew off the board at an angle, one embedding itself in the glass of the observation room and the other in the adjacent wall. God, damn. Notes by Dr. Da Costa: clearly -1 is capable of controlling the virtual velocity of these objects in a way that we don't understand. I suggest an immediate reclassification of that item as anomalous on a safe categorization and a good deal of further testing. Goddamn. Then E on future provisional side 223 AG accessions view. Message from Site 77 Director. Dear Dr. Da Costa, provisional site 223 AG will remain activated for the next few months. The Gash Group actually produced this object. It's likely that the Gash Group. Now that's a name I never heard. I really think I never heard this one. Actually produced this object. It's likely that further excavation will reveal other, perhaps more dangerous anomalies, and I would prefer that the Foundation is entirely in control of any potential discoveries. If you need anything from a couple of archaeologists to an MTF, please consider it done. Sincerest regards, Dr. Shirley Gillespie, Director, Site 77. This sounds like a very extreme board game to play. How do you win this? It does sound like a board game, right? So I wonder how you actually win this. And is that picture, that picture with the 1 ball, was that like flanked off the board game then? Is that what happened with this one? And it's just by itself now, just lingering, waiting to be picked up. Who knows? But the fact that like if you hit 4, like 2 of them just like ricochet on the board and the other 2 of them just fly off. It's pretty crazy.